and thank you for attending today's session, Pathways for Officers, the Toastmasters Education Program. Success depends on you. My name is Lynne Brasher. I am a DTM twice, and I'm currently the Vice President of Education of Mel on Toastmasters and the Vice President of Public Relations of Melrose Toastmasters. I have been a Toastmaster for over 20 years. And in my time of being a Toastmaster, probably at least half of those years, I have been a Vice President of Education. Last year was the first year that Melon existed. And in our first year, we achieved Distinguished. And Melrose, a 12-year-old club, for 10 of those 12 years, including last year, succeeded as a President's Distinguished Club. The reason we achieve this success is because if you want to make something be important to people, you have to treat it like it's important. And that is how Pathways should be treated by all officers. As an officer, it is up to you to ensure that your club is setting an environment where working the education program is not just important, it's mandatory. Let's start by talking about onboarding support and what we as officers can do to ensure that when new people join our club, they are starting on the road to success. Think about every job you've ever had. And in that job, you found yourself beginning your first day working for or with someone else as they explained the pieces of that job that were going to be critical to your success. How many times did you walk in and they simply sat you down at a desk, handed you a computer and said, go? That's just not how onboarding is done. Onboarding is done in most places, at least, with a bit of training, a bit of detail around the background of the company, and definitely some support from the people around you as you learn your new position. That same thing applies to Toastmasters and bringing our new members in. When we bring in a new member, we want to use the caveat that Stephen Covey gave us. Begin with the end in mind. We want this new member to be a productive part of our club for a long time. And in order to make that happen, it is up to us, the club's officers, to establish an environment where that is what is not just going to happen, but always going to happen. And how can we ensure that? Well, we can ensure that begin with the core values of Toastmasters itself. Integrity. We have to role model what's expected of our members. That means that as officers, every single one of us is working the program. We have to respect the program itself and support the standards that Toastmasters has established, ensuring that all speeches given at our clubs are Pathways projects. We have to provide service to our members and teach the program. Sometimes we're teaching as we're learning some of the new things that are innovative and new in the organization. And that's okay, as long as we continue to learn. And most important, we have to provide excellence, specifically around onboarding. And I'm going to borrow an example from when my son ran cross country. Each time they got prepared for a race, their coach would challenge them. Hey, runner, I want you to give me what you think would be a good time on this race, a race that you'd be happy with if you got this time. What would be your good time? Okay, runner, what would be your better time? What would you be really excited if you were able to hit in this race? And finally, what time would you absolutely love? What could be the best time you could have on this race? Now, I want you to think about those when establishing a new member. What is the good? What are we going to be happy with if we bring in a new member to our club? Well, we're going to be happy if they start working the program. And to do that, we want to make sure we at least give them the minimum viable tools to do so. We need to point them to the Toastmasters International website. And from that, we need to recommend they review the Basecamp tutorials, which is a actual YouTube playlist. And here they are. And as you see on the screen, these account for no more than probably about 10 minutes of a person's time. And it's going to get you through everything you need to know. You also can go back and watch them again. This is important for some of the steps where someone's working the program, but they're not exactly sure, say, how to complete that project or how to complete that level. So every single member should get directed to the Toastmasters website, told about the Learn More section of the Pathways menu on the TI website, and instructed to try to find these tutorials. Now that would be a good race. We'd be successful in getting our person started. We'd be happy that that occurred. But what about better? What would make us really happy? What would make our new member really happy? What about a guided onboarding document? Something like a personalized welcome letter. Dear Lynne, welcome to Toastmasters. We're so glad to have you here. Here is a description of what the program Toastmasters is intended to do for its members. Here's a list of who to contact if in the next few days, as you're working through some of these links that I'm sharing with you, you'd like some support, someone to help you. And I do want to say, include live links to the Toastmasters website, live links to your club's website, and live emails to some of your officers so that someone is there to help them and prepare them as they begin their journey. Recommend they begin with the Pathways Learning Experience on the TI's website and encourage them to sign up for a path expediently. All right, that was a good race. We enjoyed it. We got a good time. But what about a great time? How could we get a great time from our member? What about the best? And that would be to assign a mentor for a 3+ month journey with the new member. Stephen Covey has another one, think win-win in this one, because people with mentors tend to stay longer in their position. Almost everyone who's ever been mentored finds some usefulness in the relationship. And the critical one for our established members is that individuals who choose to mentor are more likely to reap the benefits of their own experience. So let's look at some of the ways that's going to really make a better journey. Your member is going to earn the Pathways Mentor certification. The two members, the mentor and the protege, are going to be able to build relationships. And if you build multiple relationships in your club, the club becomes stronger. There are tools already out there. No one is hoping that you will reinvent a wheel. There's an online library on the D3 website. If you Google that, that includes a checklist of what you should expect that mentor relationship to include. And if you do it this way with a mentor assigned to hold the hand, have the back, then you can be sure that every member is going to launch with the tools and knowledge to be a successful long-term member of your club, something that's critical in the success of a long-term healthy club. This is the way, the best way, that we do in Melrose, my club, that I've been a member for 12 years. Every member, even someone who's returning after having been gone for a while, begins with a mentor. That ability to build that relationship, to have someone's back, lets many of our new members start successfully, and we see a very good retention rate amongst our members who have gone through this program. So I highly encourage it, and I encourage you to, after this session, to go check out some of the tools you'll find in the D3 Pathway online library. Now, it doesn't just stop at the new person. We have to provide ongoing support, and let's look at those from the lens of the moments of truth. Fellowship. One of the things that I recommend is that you facilitate the success of the program by finding some way to let people work together. There are 11 different paths. And one of the things that we found is very successful is, as part of our Distinguished Club plan, we include a list of who's working on which educational pathways. This allows someone who maybe hits a wall, I don't know how to deal with this project, to specifically reach out to someone else who's already working on that same path and to synergize some solutions based on what they have seen in their path. And this has really been helpful to our members. Also, program planning. We set the expectation that members communicate their specific speech they're going to be giving in advance. In our case, we use the free Toast Host website, which allows the member to enter the path and the speech that they're giving, and the members who are going to be coming can then click a button and get the specific evaluation form that's targeted to that speech. There's often nuances to these that give you some more advanced feedback if you're actually speaking to the person who did the speech based on the actual goals they were working from. So set that expectation and make a way for your members to use the speech-specific evaluation forms. And then, of course, achievement and recognition. This is a huge part of what the Pathways program is. We're looking at frequent and timely recognition. This is critical to encouraging ongoing education. It makes the members feel valued. It gives them a sense of pride, encouraging their continued growth. And that was the fun part with the new and the existing. But now here's the work part. The administrative support, which we as officers need to provide in not one, but two specific systems. Basecamp, which is Pathways specific, and Club Central on the Toastmasters International website. Let's look at first Basecamp. Basecamp is the primary launching pad for all things Pathways on the online support. So what's a Basecamp manager? That's a person who facilitates the members' progress by verifying their educational levels are complete, approving any speeches they're giving outside the club, tracking the member progress critical to success, and supporting members who are using printed versus online material. And who are our Basecamp managers? Well, the primary is the Vice President of Education. Makes sense. This is an education program, right? But that person is a human being. They might need to go out to dinner sometime or have a hard work deadline or maybe even go on a vacation. So it's important that you have secondary support from the president and the secretary, who both are trained on how to be a Basecamp manager to assure that your members get ongoing support no matter whose work deadlines are happening at that moment. So let's talk a little bit about Basecamp Manager. Now, I want to make sure and call out that a lot of what I'm about to say is specific to people who are members of multiple clubs. And Basecamp was designed to support that because, especially as people become advanced in Toastmasters, they often join additional clubs. Some of you will never have to deal with any of this. Others will constantly deal with it. As I showed at the front of the presentation, I'm a member of two clubs, Melrose Toastmasters and Mel On Toastmasters. Mel On is an online advanced club. So at this moment, I've selected on the left-hand side that I am a member of Mel On. Now, because I'm a member of Mel On, when I go to interact with everything about Pathways, everything I look at, everything I touch will be based on the membership of Mel On. And because in Mel On, I'm the Vice President of Education, I have the option of logging in to Basecamp as the Basecamp manager. If instead I had selected the drop-down and changed this from Mel On to Melrose, the login from Basecamp manager would not be there. Critically important, if you are trying to do anything as a Basecamp manager and you can't find one of your team members, it's probably because they belong to more than one club, and the last time they were in Basecamp, they selected their other club, and that's why you can't see them. The only thing you can do in that case is work with the member to have them select again and bring them back to you. Again, a lot about dual members that won't impact many of you, but is critical to the setup of how Toastmasters Basecamp works. All right, so let's talk a little bit about training. When you come in here and you hit that button that says log in as Basecamp manager, what you're going to see are the three boxes you see on the right-hand side of the screen. Pending request, member progress, and manager tutorials. No one is expecting that you know everything you need to know to be a Basecamp manager. They're expecting you to utilize the tools available to you to do so. If you go into the manager tutorials, there is a tutorial, and all of them are roughly the same length as the videos I showed you earlier for Basecamp. Manager gets a Basecamp manager overview. There is a project information and resources tab. Now on this tab, it offers every project that's out on the tool. Excuse me. It also, and the one I want to call out, is it gives some information about viewing a member's profile. It shows you how to manage level completions and how to review and track members' progress. Also included in the tutorial is an informational on printed material if you have a member of your club who is not online working the program, but instead working from printed materials, and how to manage projects outside the club or clubs in the cases of people like me who are in more than one. But please, if you are a new Basecamp manager, log in as Basecamp manager, hit the manager tutorials, and take a look at some of the information that's available to you. It'll make this a little less intense to take on this new role. Now, the member progress button is the reporting button. And I've got two screenshots up here at the top of the screen. When you start, you will need to go to the options, and you will need to refresh the report. No matter what report you're looking at, launching the report does not make the report give you new information. You have to hit the refresh button. Often your reports will be blank until you do so. They will take a few minutes to come up, and when they do, they'll give you a visual representation of each of the options we've discussed, are going to discuss on this slide. Inside the box of the report, if you hover, you will get this other drop down, which allows you to view details or export to Excel any of the information that is included on these reports, and also offers you a new option to refresh. So let's talk about the different dashboards you could be looking at. There's the individual dashboard, and this is individual progress. So it's going to show by level the number of projects per person in progress. So if I'm working on two different paths on level 1, my name will be there twice. If I'm working on a level 1 in one path and level 3 in another, I'll be both under the level 1s and the level 3s. So it's by level, the number of projects per person in progress. The path progress dashboard, very handy when you're working to set up that I want my people to know who's working what, is the by path. So there's 11 options. Each of the paths shows you how many people in your club are working on each of the paths. The path type dashboard is for those that are dealing with delivered online or in print. If you're a new vice president of education, this might be important to look at to ensure that maybe you weren't aware someone's working on the print program. In both my clubs, everyone is working online, but this is handy if you need it. The recently registration dashboard tells you who's selected new paths. Now, this is important if you go back to the beginning of the presentation when we talked about making sure, no matter if it's good, better, or best, that you get your new person signed up and working the program. And as an officer, especially a vice president of education, it's critical that you know everyone is working the program, especially if they're going to be signing up for speeches. So you can see there any new paths that are selected. I also want to share that there is a different way to look. Say you're the vice president of membership and you want to check on the member, and you can't come in as the Basecamp manager. You can go to the Club Central and view your club roster, and under every name it will say if the member is Pathways enrolled. And finally, there's the external training dashboard. On this dashboard, if members have gotten approval to work on projects outside the Toastmasters Club meetings, that would be included in this dashboard. Now, these are the progress reports that are available to you, but one of my favorite ways to check on someone's progress is to look at their profile. Now, all of us, whether we're in a Basecamp Manager or just using Basecamp can use the search bar up at the top right-hand corner of the page, type in a member of our club's name. Reminder, if they're in two clubs and they're not listed under your club, they won't be here. But if they are, and you type in their name, then they're going to come up as a drop-down, and you're going to be able to select that person. Sometimes if someone's stuck, or if you're just trying to get some updates for where are we on our distinguished club plan, this is a great way for you to go look and see exactly what they see. Because as a Basecamp manager, you see one additional option that everyone else doesn't, the Paths and Learning button. And if I click on that, as you see here, I'm looking at Bill Posker's Toast Pathways screen, the same thing he would see. And just like if I was opening my own, I can open his curriculum, see where he is on his path, see if he's ready to turn a path in, or if I'm trying to gauge if he has enough time to finish a planned path. I'm able to see exactly where he is and use that as a vice president of education for program planning. So this is a critical tool that is underutilized, in my opinion, is to log in as the Basecamp manager, go up to the search bar and look for your club member, use the Paths and Learning to open their curriculum to see where they are and how they are progressing. If someone's stuck, this is also a great place to see, hey, I can see this is where you're stuck and this is what you need to do to get unstuck. So it's a wonderful tool available to everybody to view each other's profiles and leaves evaluations, attachments, feedback, but available to the Basecamp manager to look at Paths and Learning. Now remember, I mentioned there are two tools. So officers are required to take 2 steps every time someone completes a path. The first step is in Basecamp, where we've been operating as the Basecamp manager. You're going to receive a notification of a completion submission. That's an email that's sent based on the Basecamp manager roles in the Toastmasters website. Best practice, if you know someone's completed a level and you haven't received this notification, you can check. Remember the 3 boxes, one of them was pending approvals. You can check pending approvals, and if it's not there, follow up with your member. Remember how important that recognition is and that you want to be able to share that in whatever fashion your club is comfortable with when someone completes something. And until it's completed and signed off, you don't want to really have that celebration. When you log in as the Basecamp manager and you click the pending request to approve, you're going to see what you see here on the screen. And here you see an approve or deny. Excuse me. I recommend that each time you do approve or deny a request, you include a short signed comment. Congratulations, Lynne. Officers are also required to take a second step on every completed path. Step 2 is on Club Central. This means logging into Toastmasters International site, not the Pathways site, clicking on Leadership Central and Club Central, and selecting Submit Educational Awards. Now, this is completely different than what's in Basecamp, and I'm sure you're not going to be surprised at this point when I tell you the reason this is not an automated process is that members can belong to more than one club. If you don't log the award in Club Central, therefore the award is not recognized on your club's distinguished club plan. Say I completed something while I was logged in on Melon. Melon officers, Basecamp managers, approve it, but I have actually committed that award to the Distinguished Club program for Melrose. So Melrose is going to take the second step of logging this into Leadership Central. That's the reason that is not an automated process. And that all brings us to the Distinguished Club Planning. Distinguished Club Planning is something you should do yearly and review monthly. And let's look at the 6 goals that are dependent on an educational program. We need to have 4 level 1s achieved to achieve the first goal. Goal 2 is 2 level 2 achieved, while goal 3 is 2 more level 2s. Goal 4 is 2 level 3 achieved, and goal 5 and 6 are one of these, a level 4, a path completed, which is basically a level 5, or a DTM awarded. Now, using the tools that we've discussed in this presentation, the DCP plan is going to plan itself if you just follow this program. With integrity and respect from the core values, everyone's working the program. When you're working the program, achievement happens. For moments of truth, we're going to recognize achievement and we're going to make people proud of what's out there. And with that pride, they're going to be encouraged to continue to grow and continue to do more educational presentations. Many of us finish all of our evaluations with, "I look forward to your next speech." Well, the entire Pathways program is designed for that recognition of, "I look forward to that next speech." And then using the dashboards and reviewing the members' profiles allows you to track their progress and ensure that based on whatever you have planned, your members are going to reach that goal. That brings me to the end of this program. I appreciate you listening to how you as an officer can impact the success of the club program and earn your club the distinguished club recognition that you all deserve. Have a terrific day.